Hello and welcome to another segment of Good to Know Family Law Topics. In today's discussion, we're going to talk about what is your date of separation. In order to discuss that, I'm going to talk to you about three different things. First of all, why is the date of separation so important in California family law cases? Secondly, what are the factors that the court's going to consider, and what evidence will the court be persuaded by into determining this very important decision? And the third thing is I'm going to give you a couple of tips in case this becomes a contested issue. First of all, let's talk about why the date of separation is so important in California courts. The date of separation is very important as to how long spousal support will be paid. The court will determine the length of the marriage first and then determine how long support will be paid. So if it's a marriage of long-term duration, meaning that it's 10 years or more, you could expect that the court is going to order support for a longer period of time. If it's a short duration marriage, let's say 4 years, then the rule of thumb is that support will be paid one half the duration of the marriage. Now, how is the marriage length determined? Well, the court's going to look at when it started and what the date of separation is in California. The second reason why the date of separation is so important in California is because it will determine the characterization of property. Community property is determined by when it was acquired. Was it acquired from the date of marriage up until the date of separation? If it was, there's a presumption that it's community. Conversely, if the property is acquired post-separation, there's a presumption that it's separate property. And that's why determining what the date of separation in California is so important. Now let's look at what the court is going to consider in determining what the date of separation is. Now the court is going to look at each party's mindset at the time that they're claiming that there's a date of separation. And what the court's going to be looking at is to determine, was the marriage completely over in one of the parties' minds? Was there no chance of reconciliation? Was it a completely done deal where there's no chance that the parties will reconcile? That's what the court's going to be looking for. And how does the court determine that? Well, it's going to be looking at some pretty common sense factors. One of the factors that the court will consider is, are the parties still living together? Now that fact alone is not going to determine the date of separation, but it's very influential. The court's also going to look at things like, are the parties still having intimate relations? Are they still sharing joint bank accounts? Are they exchanging gifts? And are they holding themselves out in public as man and wife? Those are the common sense type of factors that the court's going to consider. Now let me give you some tips as to how to get the date of separation you want in case this issue becomes contested. If you're the party that wants the earlier date of separation, you should be preserving and creating evidence that shows your actual intent. And what can you do in this regard? Well, you could certainly move out of the family residence. All of those things that you see married people do, you want to stop that. You may also want to consult with an attorney, because if you're consulting with an attorney, that could be evidence that you were serious about breaking up the relationship and moving on. Now, if you're the other party, the party that wants the later date of separation, well, you would do everything in the opposite, wouldn't you? You would make sure that you preserve all the communications between you and your spouse that show that your spouse is communicating to you that the relationship is not over with. You want to continue living together, and you want to continue participating in marital activities that the court will consider that the marriage is still ongoing. Be sure that if you have further questions concerning what your date of separation is, that you consult with an attorney. This is not an issue to be treated lightly. It could be dispositive on some very important issues in your family law case. Thank you again for joining us on Good to Know Family Law Topics, and please read our blog for further information that will be helpful to you in your family law case.